Viktor Gyökeres was signed to be Arsenal's new striker, but is he proving to be the answer, or just another striker struggling to adapt in the Premier League? Arsenal's search for a reliable number 9 has been one of the biggest talking points under Mikel Arteta's career with the club. Since losing Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang a couple of seasons ago, we had not found a reliable striker to lead the line. Gabriel Jesus had fitness issues, Edin Nketiah blew hot and cold, and many fans felt that we're just one striker short of being unstoppable. Enter Viktor Gyökeres, a man who was scoring for fun in the Portuguese Primeira Liga, smashing all sorts of records and bullying defenders every week. But the Premier League is in Portugal, and the question now is simple. Has Viktor Gyökeres lived up to the hype so far at Arsenal? Is he Arsenal's missing piece, or another striker who can step up at the very top level? So let's rewind a moment. Why did Arsenal sign Viktor Gyökeres in the first place? Was it because of the 97 goals in 102 games in the Portuguese Primeira Liga, or the fact that he was just smashing things up in the Champions League for Sporting CP last season? The answer is simple. Arsenal needed more firepower up front. If you recall, Gabriel Jesus suffered a terrible ACL injury in January 2025 when Arsenal played against Manchester United in the FA Cup. Shortly after that, we lost Kai Havertz after the warm weather training in Dubai, and he was out for, I think, 3 to 4 months when he had a hamstring injury as well. This meant that Arsenal had to play with a central midfielder in Mikel Merino for a considerable part of that campaign, and of course, we know we struggled with him in attack. Yes, he tried his best, but he was no striker. We tried to rely on a handful of goals from Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, and of course, Mikel Merino. But the lack of a consistent number 9 was very clear. Viktor Gyökeres offered us something different: pace, power, movement, and a finishing instinct that made him one of the most feared strikers in Europe. Hell, he won the Gerd Müller Trophy in the last Ballon d'Or, and that was testament to his ability to score goals last season for Sporting CP. He wasn't coming to just sit on the bench. He was signed to challenge and even replace Gabriel Jesus as Arsenal's main man up front. Mikel Arteta also wanted depth. With the Champions League, the Premier League, the FA Cup and the EFL Cup all demanding rotation. With Arsenal being a very ambitious club competing on all fronts, you could see that we needed the kind of player that could match that. Let's track back. In the EFL Cup last season, Arsenal went all the way to the semi-finals and lost to the eventual winners, Newcastle. In the FA Cup, obviously, Arsenal lost in the third round after that embarrassing game against Manchester United. Manchester United had the red card, Martin Odegaard missed a penalty. And of course, in the Premier League, it was another campaign that Arsenal finished in second place, but this was kind of worse than the last two campaigns, bearing in mind that Arsenal had 14 draws, which was unprecedented. What really pisses me off the most was that among those 14 draws, Arsenal were leading in 9 games. And of course, in the Champions League campaign, where Arsenal went all the way to the semi-final before losing to PSG. So you could see that with Arsenal competing in all these competitions, the right level of depth was needed. But unfortunately, we didn't have that. Gabriel Jesus was injured, Kai Havertz was injured, and of course, we did not invest in any other striker, leaving Mikel Merino as the only option in attack. But it's worth noting that the signing of Viktor Gyökeres wasn't just for depth. It was meant to be Arsenal's statement of intent. You could see the buzz that came when Arsenal signed him. Fans went nuts because we were finally going to get a striker that was as good as Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now, to be fair, Viktor Gyökeres hasn't been completely quiet. In 5 Premier League games played so far, he has scored 3 goals. More regular Premier League strikers haven't got into that count yet. He opened the Arsenal account in style, scoring a brace in the 5-0 demolition of Leeds United, which included that big penalty that showed he's not afraid of the big moment. His debut goal was amazing. Took a simple pass from Ricardo Calafiori, slalom dragged through the Leeds United defense, and smashed it into the bottom corner of Lucas Perry's post. You could see the relief that came off it because obviously in his first game against Manchester United, he kind of struggled, played only 59 minutes, and was subbed by Kai Havertz. He followed up his brace against Leeds United with a goal in the 3-0 win against Nottingham Forest. Espirito Santo was sacked, and Postecoglou replaced him and played his first game against us. As expected, Arsenal ran Nottingham Forest ragged, thanks to a brace from Martin Zubimendi and a lovely goal from Viktor Gyökeres. He showed great awareness to be like a fox in the box, responding quickly to Iberichi's cutback to blast the ball past Martial's goal. 3 goals in the early weeks isn't a bad return at all, and he gave the fans a glimpse of what he can bring to the club. His movement in the box, his ability to attack space, and his physical presence all stood out. And even his teammates have noticed. Bukayo Saka praised him for the fight and determination that he brings to the side, even when things weren't going on well for him. The early signs show that when you give the ball to Viktor Gyökeres, he can convert those chances. Feed the Gyok, he will score. When Arsenal creates chances, Viktor Gyökeres looks like the man we have been crying out for. Someone who can actually position himself to receive a good pass and finish it. We have flagged that for a very, very long time. And it's good to see that we have a striker in that mode. But then there were the other games. Against Manchester City, where Arsenal drew 1-1 thanks to a late goal from Gabriel Martinelli, Gyokeres managed only 24 touches across 90 minutes. He didn't even register a single shot in that game, offered no threat. He looked isolated, almost like he wasn't even part of the game plan at all. When Arsenal played against Manchester United, Gyokeres looked like an isolated figure up front as well. Martins de Ligt marshaled him in the entire game, and after 59 minutes, his Arsenal debut was cut short as he was sold for Kai Havertz. When Arsenal visited Anfield to take on Liverpool, it was the same story. Gyokeres was up and about, didn't really offer much, struggled in attack, and of course, despite playing the entire game, he didn't offer anything because obviously Liverpool defended well. The only opportunity that came for a chance to be created for him was when Martin Odegaard received the ball from Iberichi easy and tried to dink one in for him. Obviously, they're not in the same wavelength. This has been the biggest criticism of Viktor Gyökeres so far. When Arsenal dominate possession and provide service, he looks dangerous. But when Arsenal is under pressure and the midfield can't find him, he basically disappears. Some pundits have even gone as far as calling him a flat track bully. Great against the weaker sides, but invisible against the elite. This might sound harsh, but in all honesty, it's not wrong. Arsenal has played 5 games in the Premier League. The 2 games we played against Nottingham Forest and Leeds United, we scored 8 goals, and Viktor Gyökeres scored 3 from those 8 goals. However, when we played Manchester United, Liverpool, and Man City, we scored just 2 goals, and he was nowhere to be found. I can't even remember him registering a shot on target in any of those 3 games. So that postulation at the time of this recording is quite correct. And when Viktor Gyökeres has come against elite defenses, he has struggled. However, adaptation is a critical factor. The Premier League speed and physicality is a massive step up from playing in the Portuguese Primeira Liga. The Premier League always asks one question of every striker: can you deliver when it really matters? I've seen the likes of Erling Haaland come to the Premier League and beast. Obviously, we have the likes of Alexander Isak too, who cost 130 million because of the ability that he has shown when he was in Newcastle. So yes, there's some strikers that have come to this league and done very well, but there are others that have had their fair share of struggles. Look at the likes of Jørgen Strand Larsen. Look at the likes of Evan Nielsen. They managed to score a couple of goals, no doubt, but obviously they have underperformed their XG. Now let's be fair to Viktor Gyökeres. One of the big positives of having him in the squad is the depth he offers us. As at the time of this recording, Kai Havertz is injured. He was supposed to be Arsenal's de facto striker alongside Viktor Gyökeres. But with Havertz out of action, Viktor Gyökeres has basically had to hold the fort on his own. We even have a certain Gabriel Jesus, who is still injured since January. So that depth has been a major plus for Arsenal. Imagine going into this campaign and Havertz got injured again and we didn't buy a striker. It would have been crazy. Arsenal fans would have gone bonkers. But in Gyokeres, we have the confidence that this is a striker that can actually score goals. And he has proven it with 3 goals in his first 5 games in the club. Arsenal is fighting on all fronts. We are currently second in the Premier League, 5 points behind Liverpool. We played our first Champions League game against Athletic Club, winning 2-0. But obviously, our next game is against Olympiacos next week, Tuesday. We had the EFL Cup, which we played last night, winning Port Vale 2-0. And sometime in January, our FA Cup campaign is going to start. Viktor Gyökeres offers Arsenal an option to rotate without a huge drop in quality. This means when Gabriel Jesus finally comes back from his long injury, if he's not sold in January, he doesn't have to play every game. This also allows the likes of Saka Martinelli to stay fresh. When Kai Havertz come, at times he can be rotated alongside Gyokeres, depending on the game state and the opponent. And that has promised that Arsenal are going to be unpredictable this season. And there might be some games you use Gyokeres, there might be some games you use Kai Havertz. But having him in the squad is very important because of the depth he offers us. And this gives us the flexibility we need for a club competing for the Premier League title. Viktor Gyökeres is a part of a stronger and deeper Arsenal squad, which is very vital for the long campaign ahead. But the real test isn't about rotation or depth. It's about doing well in the big matches. Can Viktor Gyökeres deliver against the likes of Man City, Liverpool, and Champions League top sides? So far, in all honesty, he has not. When Arsenal played against Manchester United, I expected him to, cook, because Manchester United is one team that has really struggled in recent campaigns. But unfortunately, that game was turned on its head because Man U actually attacked Arsenal more, and we Arsenal did more of the defending. Against Liverpool, obviously, was coming against the likes of Virgil van Dijk and Konate, two of the biggest defenders in the league, and of course, one of the most experienced. And we also had that happen. He faltered. Then, of course, last weekend, when Arsenal hosted Manchester City at the Emirates, Gyokeres was also found wanting. So right now, the jury is here for Viktor Gyökeres. He has shown that he can bully mid-table defenses, such as Leeds and Nottingham Forest. But in the tight, cagey matches that can decide titles, we need to see more. It's not too much to ask. We need to see him improve his link-up play. We need to see him even create his own chances when the service is lacking and prove that he's not just another striker for the easier games. When he was a Sporting CP, there were a couple of highlights where he would take the ball on his own and drive all the way to the goal and shoot. He actually did this against Leeds United. But unfortunately, we did not see the same when Arsenal played Man United, when Arsenal played Liverpool, when Arsenal played Man City. Improving his link-up play and creating chances for himself is going to be very crucial. The season won't be defined like how he plays against the likes of the Leeds and Nottingham Forest. It's by how he performs against the likes of City, Liverpool, and Man United, which we have seen so far. So what's the verdict on Viktor Gyökeres at Arsenal so far? I'll say it's a mixed bag. On one hand, he has scored goals and shown his movement and ability, and obviously added depth to the squad, which was important. On the other hand, he has kind of struggled against the big sides and shown that he needs to adapt some more. Right now, I'll give him a B+, which shows that he's still a promising striker, but it's not that finished product that Arsenal need. Once he settles quickly, he could be the missing piece in our charge. But let's make no mistake. Once Gyokeres adapts and starts scoring in the big moments, he will be what Arsenal needs to go all the way to finally win the Premier League title. I believe that Gyokeres can be that striker that can lead Arsenal to glory, but he has to prove it by scoring when it really counts. So what do you think? Is he really a goal machine or just a flat track bully? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. And of course, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to all our Arsenal for more Arsenal content. Till then, feed the Gyok and he will score.